Happy Monday, knitters. I'm Louise from Wildflower Wool, and welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, which means it's a brand new episode of New Start Monday Knits. And if you're new here, you're probably asking yourself, what is New Start Mondays? It is where I find two balls of yarn. One is a ball of dishcloth cotton, and another is just a random ball of yarn that speaks to me out of my stash, and I cast on. So 2 new projects every week. Sometimes I get them finished, sometimes I don't. Most times they don't. Eventually, hopefully, that's the goal, is eventually they will get finished. So I've got 2 new balls of yarn to show you. I've got a lot of progress to show you. I had a really good knitting weekend. So for most of us here in Canada and the US, it was a long weekend this past weekend. So I challenged myself to see how much I could get done on a sweater. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But let's start off, as we do every week, with the finished dishcloth from last week. My goal this year has been to get a dishcloth knit a week, and I have done that. We're into September, and I have still kept that up, which is pretty exciting. So this dishcloth, don't laugh when you see it, because I'm going to show it to you. It did not turn out well, you guys. I mean, I love the stitch pattern. So this is just, we'll talk a little bit about kind of the design process, right? How you kind of take an idea in your head and you translate it into an actual knitted item, and then you kind of see what worked and what didn't. And on this one, unfortunately, more went wrong than went well. But the stitch pattern itself, you guys know I love this. It's herringbone. I've used this in some other designs, and last week when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for a dishcloth, still working in that, you know, that quest to find these patterns that would make a good dishcloth, Afghan square, or a full blanket. And I thought, oh, the herringbone pattern, I love that. Let's work it into a dishcloth. So I did. But look at it. I know. Are you guys laughing? Look at how wonky the bottom and the top are. Like, it's just like, it's curling over. It's flaring out. It kind of goes wonky on the sides. So let's talk about this. Look, do you guys have any idea what I did wrong? I'll tell you what my thoughts are on this. It started out what I thought was great and wonderful last week. I got the white done. I was liking how it looked. I thought, you know, following up on the last week's dishcloth that I was super excited about, the garter slip stitch pattern, because I had thought I had perfected it, putting 2 garter stitches on either edge, a couple of rows of garter stitch. It worked so well on that one. So I thought, oh, might as well carry it on, right? Let's do the same on the herringbone. Did not work so well. I like the garter stitch edges down the side. I'm happy with that. But 2 rows of garter stitch on the top and the bottom, not so much. And I think the problem there is obviously garter stitch is soft, it's squishy, and it's stretchy. The herringbone stitch is not, which I already knew that. And typically I go up, when I knit the herringbone stitch, I go up at least a needle size. This I didn't, mostly because I was lazy, and I just stuck. Look at this. I'm still using my poor, well-loved, mismatched dishcloth needles. I just carried on with them, even though I knew that it would probably be better to go up a needle size. I carried on, and so it's, I mean, it's dense and it's thick, which is not maybe a bad thing. But when you pair it with garter stitch, the garter stitch is way too squishy and stretchy. And that's why I think my top is just flaring out. It's that garter stitch is too stretchy, and then you jump right into the body and it's like stiff and tight. So not a good pairing in this case. And the second thing that went kind of wonky was I decided to stripe it. I started off good with my white, and I'm like, I've got a little bit of this blue. I'm not sure if the white will do a whole dishcloth. Let's stripe it. Well, the white is Bernat Handicrafter, and the blue I think the color name is Azure, and it is Knit Picks Dishy, and Knit Picks Dishy is a teeny tiny little bit thinner than the Handicrafter, which in other projects it hasn't been an issue, because when I've been striping the two, can you tell? I'm not sure if it's showing up really on screen. The blue is a smidgen bit thinner, but you can definitely tell when you're knitting with it. But when I was striping my other dishcloths, doing the super simple diamond, you're doing some shaping along the sides, and my striping was only 2 rows. 2 rows of Handicrafter, 2 rows of Dishy, and it didn't create a problem. It kind of blended and it worked well together. But doing like color blocks, the thinner yarn, you can just see how it kind of pulls in, and then the white comes out and the blue goes in a smidge. And as I was knitting it, you know, I kept like tugging on it. I'm like, oh, it's okay. All I got to do is just kind of pull it out a little bit, right? No. But anyways, you know what? You live and you learn, right? So now I just got to remember, so I don't do this again, don't edge it with garter stitch. Now I do have to say, did I say this already? This is like about take 3 that I've been talking about this, so I'm not exactly sure now what I've actually said and recorded and what so if I'm repeating myself, just bear with me. But anyways, I do like the garter stitch edge on here, so I'm going to keep that. And but yeah, I'm going to ditch the garter on top, because obviously that is not a good pairing. But you know, overall I love the stitch pattern. It's 2 rows, so easy. It fits totally in with my criteria that it has to be quick, like as in that you can do it within 2 sittings, get a dishcloth finished. So, you know, 2 evenings worth of knitting and it'll be done. I can read my dishcloth, so I know exactly what row I'm on. I don't have to count rows. I don't have to follow a pattern. I can just knit. It is knit night proof, because we did a Zoom, or no, actually we didn't use Zoom, but I think it was a Facebook chat or whatever platform we used. And I was knitting this while we were chatting. So I was listening and talking and knitting at the same time, and I did not mess it up. So that is a super bonus. I don't know. And my criteria does not have to be reversible, because this is not reversible. That's the back side. But anyway, so it fit in there. So I thought all I need to do now is I just need to get a better border around the edge. And then this pattern will go into my little collection of easy stitch patterns. Something when you want something just a little bit more than garter stitch or stockinette. So this will be a keeper once I get the edge sorted out. So anyway, this will be another dishcloth for my kitchen drawer. This one won't go in the gift box because it's a little too wonky to gift. So it'll be mine. I'll get to use it. What else? Okay, I'm going to keep the sweater till the end. So I'll show you what I'm starting today for a dishcloth. Any guesses? If you guessed Herringbone Dishcloth version number 2, you would be correct. And here it is. So this is a ball. I picked one ball. I learned my lesson. I shouldn't say lesson, because I could stripe if I had the same weight of yarn. I might try striping the herringbone again. But this ball, I weighed it. There was 39 grams of yarn here. So I know there's enough in here to do a dishcloth, so I'm not going to bother striping. And plus when you stripe, then you've got to carry your yarn. And part on that, the blue and white one, I started out, I think for the first color change, I carried my yarn up the side, and then I forgot. So then I had to cut it, and it was just kind of so there, maybe that doesn't qualify for my criteria for like the super easy pattern, is if you're going to carry the yarn or stripe it. We'll see. Maybe stripes doesn't make the cut on that. So I'm just going to do one color. And what is this? This is the Lily Sugar and Cream. Does this have a name on it? Daisy Ombre. So it really looks nice and springy. I was kind of hoping that yellow kind of had a fall look to it. Maybe. It looks like a fall mum, doesn't it? Actually, I have mums outside that I bought this past weekend, and they're a yellow center with a white flower. So maybe we can stretch this and call it a fall color. Anyways, this is my new herringbone stitch. I also went up a needle size. So this is a 4mm. The other was like a 3.5mm. So it's a little looser because the herringbone does really create a really dense fabric. So far, I'm hoping I'm okay. I'm hoping we're all right. Hoping that's not, I think we're lying okay. I don't know. Well, no, I kept doing another couple of rows before I came up here to film, because I thought, okay, I want to really see if I think this is going to lie flat, because I know last time I thought I was off, you know, doing great, and then all of a sudden it started curling on me. So we will see. If you want it, if you can't wait till next Monday to see the verdict on this, you can follow me on Instagram, and I'll make sure that I post some pictures this week. But fingers crossed, up a needle size, no striping, and I did not do garter stitch on the bottom. I just did a long tail cast on and started in with row 1 of the herringbone. So there's no garter stitch on the bottom, but there are 2 garter stitches on the edge. So hopefully that won't be a problem. I guess we will see. You never know until you try. It's kind of the design process, right? That you just take an idea in your head and see how it translates out into the actual knitted item. But so far, fingers crossed, I'm having a good feeling about this. But we'll find out next week. Next Monday, we'll see. I'll either be like super happy and say, yes, it worked, or like be like, oh no. It's a repeat from last week. It went all wonky. They just went wonky again. So stay tuned and we will find out the suspense of dishcloth knitting. Who knew dishcloths could be so, you know, on the edge of your seat waiting to find out what happens, right? Okay, let's go into my other new start. So I was looking at yarn for what I was going to start. I was going to see, I had another ball. I can't find it. You guys, if you've been watching my yarn sorting videos, you'll be super happy. I was happy. I was proud. I made myself happy this week. I was picking the yarn. I thought, what am I going to use for my other ball for new starts this week? I picked up a ball. It was just a random ball that was out in the hallway. It literally had fallen out of a bag of yarn that when I had cleaned up this room, I put a bunch into bags and moved it out into the hallway just so I had some room to work in here. And this one ball, this bag was way too full, and it just kept falling out into the hallway. So I picked it up and I thought, oh, you know what? I just need to knit it and into a hat, make it charity knitting, and donate it. And then I stopped and I thought, Louise, and you guys have all been telling me I've got so much beautiful yarn, but I just can't seem to get rid of the stuff that I really don't want to knit with. And what I end up doing is saying, oh, instead of just donating the yarn, I'll be like, I'll quickly knit it into a hat and then I'll donate the hat. I stopped myself from doing that today. And I thought, no, this is a ball I really don't want to knit with, and I probably wouldn't buy it again if I saw it on the store shelf. So I am just going to pass it along to somebody else who would enjoy it, because the colors are really beautiful. It was a chunky, do I have it here? I do have it here. I gotta reach for it. Okay, now I'm gonna have to stay strong, because now that I'm looking at it again, I'm like, oh, it is really pretty. Okay, look, see, it is just a random ball bandless ball. This means that I probably got this at Listowel, but look how pretty the colors are. I'm sure it is just an acrylic. I don't think there's any wool in there, and it would knit up nice, and it would be a pretty scarf. Anyways, I'm going to pass this on because I have something that I love way nicer than this. Somebody else can enjoy knitting this, and it will. It'll make a nice hat. It'll make a nice cowl. It'll be something nice for somebody else. So I put that right into my bin to donate, and I grabbed a skein of yarn that we sorted through, I don't know, a week or two ago. And it's lovely. This makes me really excited to knit with this. This has been in my stash for a number of years. Look, I posted a picture. Yeah, there's a picture on Instagram before I wound this. Look at this skein. I'm like in love with this. This is so my colors. Thinking that might be a little better. It's really dark, like dark browns, a little bit of goldy yellow in there. Love this. And you know what? This is really what I should be knitting with. Something that really makes me happy. Anyways, this is what I'm going with. It is hand spun, you guys. Hand spun, 100% Shetland wool from a local farm, and I love it. I bought this at, I'm sure this probably came from Woodstock Fleece Festival a number of years ago. So it is hand spun, 100 grams. Don't know, doesn't say actually any yardage on here, but it's 100 grams. Look at this. It is just so pretty. I love it. So I think this is going to be a hat for me in preparation that the snow is coming. Hopefully not for a little bit, but I think I'm due for a new hat for myself. And it feels so nice. Okay, this only a knitter would understand why you're putting a ball of yarn up to your forehead, but you know what? It feels nice. It does not feel scratchy. Like, I think it'll be fine. Yeah, I don't know. I find it nice. So that is it. 100% Shetland. Yeah, I'm not even sure if Michelle still has her sheep. I think I said that in the other video, that I think I had heard through the grapevine, or maybe from her, that she was selling her flock. So I'm not sure if that actually happened or not, but I have a nice stash of her yarn. So I'll be able to knit with it for quite a while before I run out. Like, I have sweater quantities of some of her yarn, which is nice. But I think I might have one more skein in this color. I'm not sure about that. But anyways, this is my new start. So it's going to be a hat. I think I'll just modify my super simple hat. Just something simple. Simple and wearable. So we'll see how far I get on this. But I'm happy. I'm really happy that I'm knitting with this. This makes me happy. Okay, sweater knitting. Last couple videos, I had showed you that big ball of Caron Anniversary Cake yarn. And I said I was going to make myself a sweater. And that since it was a long weekend, I had Friday off work, Saturday and Sunday, and Monday was the extra holiday. I thought, how much of this can I get done with 4 days off? So I had planned, I had really pictured, I thought, okay, 4 days, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to knit, like, get up in the morning, start knitting, take a few little breaks so that, you know, stretch, and I didn't want my shoulders or my arms or anything getting sore. But I thought, oh, what if I had 4 full days of knitting? Well, you know what? I didn't have 4 full days of knitting because I can't seem to stay home for 4 days in a row. What did I do? I did my gauge swatch Thursday night, and then I knit a little bit Friday morning. Friday afternoon, I went away. I got my fall mums to do a little bit of outdoor gardening this weekend. And then Friday night, of course, we do our Fiber Friends Friday night knit night. That is always such a tongue twister for me to say. So it's a live knit night on Facebook. So, and I did knit a little bit while we were chatting, but I typically don't knit too much during those 2 hours. And then, so I knit the rest of Friday night. Saturday, I did knit all day. Sunday, not so, I just knit for a few hours, not a whole lot. Monday, I thought, okay, Monday here I'll go. It's, you know, it's an extra day off work. I want to do something special with this day. I thought it's going to be a great day. I can just binge watch something on Netflix and I will knit all day long. Didn't happen. I woke up Monday morning with a terrible headache. I woke up and it was just a downpour of rain outside and I had a headache. And every time there's a weather change, I typically get a headache. And I was down and out. I went back to bed and I didn't get up until after lunch. So there was no knitting until mid-afternoon for me on Monday. So my 4 full days of knitting and grand plans to see if I could actually try to get this sweater knit, because this is a little ball of it, because it is thick yarn, right? I'm knitting it with a 7.5 millimeter needle. And I thought, let's see how much I can get done out of those 4 days. Well, I still got a good chunk of knitting done. And with big needles, it did knit up really quick. And I'll show you what I've got done. Now, I was also designing this at the same time. I was doing my gauge to garment process. Sorry, I had it on a hanger because I was taking pictures of it to post. So I was figuring out, I did my measurements. I did a chest measurement and I did a body length measurement. So from the top of the shoulder down to where I wanted it to sit on my hip. And I did an arm length measurement. Once I got the body done and put it on, it's a drop shoulder. So from where the shoulder stopped, I measured down and I did a circumference on my wrist. Those are the measurements that I did. I did my gauge, did some math, and this is what I've come up with. So out of my kind of 4 days of kind of off and on knitting, I can't see here. But here's the body. The body is done. And I have one sleeve getting close. I know the sleeve looks short there, but it's drop shoulder. So it's sleeves kind of like this. So sleeve almost finished. And over here, there's just a big hole. So overall, so really, I'm like really happy. This is a lot of knitting to get done over those 4 days. I mean, big chunky yarn really, really helps. I did redo this neckline. I had this all finished and my shoulders seamed together. And I showed it to my daughter and she was like, Mom. And because I had kind of decided that I wanted a really open neckline and I wanted it to come down a little bit lower. So I don't know what I don't know. So yeah, it was the first go around, and you know what, I didn't even take a picture of it. I should have. But holding it up, and when I showed it to Anita, it didn't have the collar on it. So you guys, experienced sweater knitters, you know that when you just have the raw edge here, it looks a lot bigger and droopier than it actually is. Once you pick up your stitches and you get a few rows knit, it just kind of pulls it all up. So I said to Nita, I'm like, no, it's okay. I know it looks low, but I don't know. I was kind of thinking like it would be low, but I could, like wear a tank underneath it or something. And I'm like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I went home and I tried it on and I'm like, oh yeah, no. I had actually made it a little too wide because when I had it on, it was kind of like falling off my shoulder. And I looked at it and And, you know, and there again, it's like, as soon as I start to try to convince myself, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I like that. And then I'm like, no, I don't. I'm trying, you know what? So I put it down, and that was it for that night. And I woke up the next morning and I unpicked my mattress stitch on both shoulder seam, and I pulled out. And these are all, I cut the yarn here because I ended up, oh my gosh, you know what? Okay, I should back my story up a little bit, because Friday night when I was knitting it, if any of you were on the live Facebook night with me, you guys are probably going to shake your head and go, Louise, what were you thinking? Because I had said Friday night, I'm like, because I had intended to knit this in pieces. I had intended to do a front and a back and seam it. And I said, as I was knitting it, I'm like, because we were talking about how many stitches we all had on our needles, depending on what project we were doing, right? And some people had, you know, like almost 400 stitches because they were doing a really big shawl or whatever. And I'm like, well, I've got all these stitches. And I'm like, I looked at it, I'm thinking, man, this looks big. But I'm like, but I had kind of held it up to myself, and I thought, okay, there's some ease, and yeah, it's kind of stretched on the needle, but yeah, once it's in, I'm like, yeah, I think it fits. So I was like, holy, this fits. That's a little depressing. But I'm like, okay, whatever, you know, carry on. Well, so the next morning, you know, after a good night's sleep, I got up, I looked at it, and again, I thought, okay, something is not right here. And sure enough, so it fit. I had done this, for me, I had done the math late at night. I had done my gauge swatch, I measured, I took my measurement, I did the math, and I'm like, okay, I need to cast on 130 stitches or something. I didn't divide it in half, because so I cast on the full number of stitches for knitting in the round, but I was knitting back and forth, which is why I have to do a little seaming, because I got this much done before the light bulb went on. That I'm like, okay, why is this something, you know, there again, it's that nagging little feeling. I'm like, okay, what? I'm like, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I know I have a large chest measurement. I know that I take like an extra large. So, I mean, an extra large, as you know, is a certain width, right? I know I'm not wearing a size small, but I was looking at it, I'm like, man, I'm like, is that seriously the size of this sweater? And then all of a sudden there, you know, in the light of day, the first, you know, clear head after a good night's sleep, I'm like, oh my gosh, Louise, how crazy. Anyways, I joined it in the round and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, that looks so much better. So, but anyways, my math and everything was right. I had just cast on the whole entire set of stitches instead of dividing it in two, right? Because if you've got, so I am knitting myself with some ease. I was knitting a chest circumference of 50 inches. So obviously I should have cut that in half, right? If you want the front, if you want to do it in pieces, you need 25 inches across the front, 25 across the back. That's why it was looking so big. But, you know, I hadn't messed up with my math or anything, so everything still fits. So I joined it in the round. All I'm going to have to do now is just do some really, hopefully neat little seaming here for this little bit and join it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've made that. I don't know if I've ever made that mistake before. But anyways, at least it all fits, so I didn't have to pull it out. I just kept going. But I did pull out this. So because I was knitting in rounds down here, things were coming out I just knit this just the way it came out of the ball. And the nice wide stripes with my gauge and my stitch count ended up being 10 rows. And then I switched colors. So once I got up to where I was dividing for the armhole, then I had to I carried on and I just did the back. And then I came back and knit the front. So I had to just count my rows and then cut the yarn and then find my next color and add it in, count 10 rows. So, which is why I have all of these tails, but it kept my stripes the same width. I know you're probably looking at some of these little blips because I pulled this all out and I had cut the yarn. I pulled it out, wound up my small little balls, kind of like these guys. And then I picked up my stitches and I added in a few inches. I wanted to raise the neckline. So I just knit back and forth again across the full width of the sweater. But obviously I didn't have enough yarn from my first set of balls. So I had to kind of cut and paste, I don't know, join yarn. So I kind of did a no-no, which I never ever do. I did join right there. So this is another one of those things, do what I say, not what I do. And I may live to regret this. I don't know. But I think, see, if I just snug up those yarns just like that, you can't tell. But good rule of thumb, if you're a new knitter, and 99.9%, I always join at the edge, just not this time. But join here so that you don't have that right in the center. But anyways, I did this time. So that's that. So I put it on, it fits, it's great. The neck is still a little, it's nice. It fits nice now. It's not tight, it is a little lower. I snugged this in, so I made my shoulder seams. I added a couple more stitches back into my shoulder, took it out of the neck and put it back into the shoulder. So that kind of played around with those balls of yarn again. I had, before when I was knitting across, I had less stitches. This time I had more. So there again, another reason why the yarn that I pulled out didn't quite work to be knitted up. So I had to kind of piece it together. But anyways, it's done. And I'm happy with how the neckline fits nicer. I like it so it's not so deep. Anita, good call on your part. And now I have just picked up and I am working on the sleeves. So again, this little blippy here, don't worry about that because that's going to go away once I weave in the tails on the other side. So I picked up and, oh yeah, see now this, every once in a while, there is a little speckle because at first I looked at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, is that a hole or is that a loose stitch? And it's just a little bit of black in the yarn. But so far so good for the sleeves. This one is almost finished and I've got lots of yarn because what was there? So these big balls. Now, a tip for the next time I use this ball, and if I know some people were going out to buy them because they're like so super cool, they're fun. If you haven't started knitting with it yet, I would suggest maybe knitting from the outside of the ball because it kind of collapses. You know what it's like? Well, normally if we wind a big ball, like a big cake of yarn, once you get the center part, it kind of collapses in on itself. Well, this is no exception. And this is just a way bigger ball to have collapse in on itself. So this is what I have got left. I still have lots of yarn, but see how floppy it's getting? So the next time I knit with this, and I think I'm going to start from the outside and work my way in because look, it's just kind of, I'm just really worried that I'm going to get myself into trouble here and end up with a tangled mess. So I'm just trying to be really gentle with it. And from knitting this much with it, just be careful. It does split a teeny little bit, not super bad. There's 3 plies. There's 3 plies of yarn in here. And when I first started and wasn't paying real super close attention, I did catch myself splitting. So there's 3 plies. There's 3 plies there. So if you're not careful, you can split, and then you'll have just a little blip of yarn not catching in the stitch. So a couple of times I had to ladder back down, drop my stitches, and pick it up. So it happened a few times, but then I tried, once I realized that that could happen, I tried to be really careful and watch my stitches, or really feel them as I was knitting, and just kind of take a quick look every once in a while to see if there was something I had missed. It wasn't bad enough. Well, it wasn't bad enough because like I would still knit with it, right? It's just something to be aware of. And maybe depending on what kind of needle you're using or your tension, maybe you won't find it to be a big problem. So what I want to say is it's not a big enough problem that I would say I would never knit with this again, because I might have went and bought another ball already. Because I think I'm going to do another sweater out of this. So I like knitting with it. I find it soft, like it is nice for an acrylic yarn. I think it knits up great. It knits up nice. I like the striping. Yeah, I like it. So I think next time I would just knit from the outside. So I would try not to have this big collapsing cake. But the yardage, it is going forever because I haven't weighed this, but I still have like a ton of yarn left. And I have some balls here that I wound into colors just so I can play with my stripes and get them the colors that I need. Because I was kind of just going, because the body was knit bottom up and now the sleeves are going from the shoulder down. So I've just wound off these colors, cut the yarn, and then I'm just picking them up as I need them for my colors down my sleeve. So I haven't used the white on the sleeve yet, have I? I don't think so. But I've used the different shades of gray. So this is what's left over. So I'm hoping that this will do the other sleeve, but I still have what's left in here too. So I'm going to have I really only have one sleeve to done, so I'm going to have a ton of yarn left over. And I was a little nervous that I wasn't sure if one of these balls would do a sweater in my size. And so far, it's looking like I'm going to have a lot of yarn left over, which is good. So maybe I'll make a matching hat. You know, I don't know. I haven't really thought about what I'll do with the leftovers, but I did go buy another ball because I was afraid they would sell out and I really wanted the yellow colorway. So I went and got it. So it's here. So I will probably cast it on in a couple of weeks. I love this one. I really love how the color stripes. I like it. I really, really like it. It's soft, it's cozy, it's warm. And I just hope I don't have to wear it too soon. So I think that has been my knitting for this past week. I might have done a couple of rows on my latte cakes. I might have done, I think I maybe did a couple of rows on that too, but no significant progress on there. And yeah, I think that's it. So I was just thinking, I did get some yarn mail and I had plans to open it up while we were doing this video, but I did not bring it upstairs. So that may be a separate video, maybe midweek. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and you can hit that bell for any notifications, because I have been uploading just some extra videos here and there throughout the week and on the weekends. So if you want to get notified when there is a new video for you to sit and relax with your knitting and watch, then subscribe and hit that bell so you know exactly when things are up. And I'm just thinking, I think we'll have to do another video just showing you what my yarn mail is and what I'm going to do with it. that is it, guys. I hope that this has, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like half this video was talking to you about my mistakes. My herringbone didn't quite work out the way I wanted, and my my grand plan for this collar and neck shaping, it didn't work out. But you know what? I mean, I guess, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, it's just yarn, right? So just don't weave your ends in until you know 100% that what you've got is what you like, because that would have been even more time consuming to pick out my ends that I had woven in. So, you know, you can always take it out, rework the numbers, and do it again and get it exactly how you want so you can get that perfect fit. So maybe I've inspired you. Don't be afraid of your knitting. You are the boss of your knitting. That's what I like to say, you know, and you can always make it however you want. So, okay, I think that is it, because I just am kind of going on and on. So I'm going to go find some needles, cast on my hat, and I'm going to keep working on this sweater. So like I said before, you can follow me on Instagram. I post there pretty much every day, updates of what I am working on. So you'll see some hopefully finished pictures of the sweater. We'll see how my new version number 2 of the herringbone stitch goes. Once I've got it figured out, which hopefully will be next week, I will leave that pattern in the description box down below. So if anybody else wants to knit it for some gift giving, or just a nice, you know, little treat for yourself, for your own kitchen, you'll be able to do that too. So let's chat in the comments. I'd love to know what you are working on. If you're anywhere as close to getting something finished, have you started something new? And how is everybody's Christmas or holiday gift knitting going? So let's chat in the comments, and fingers crossed. I did no yarn sorting up here this weekend, so there was no video this weekend for yarn sorting because I was knitting. And yarn sorting really cuts into the yarn, or like the knitting part. It's either you sort it or you knit it. And this weekend I decided to knit. So there will be some yarn sorting going on this week. So if you're following me along on that journey, there will be some more interesting stuff for us to discover later on in the week. Happy knitting, everybody, and I will see you in the next video.